There we go. Okay, so for the rest of us, we'll mute as soon as Sarah gets started. And then if Amanda joins us, I will let her in during all of this. So, but yeah, okay. So just so y'all know, I'm actually meeting Sarah for the first time too, but she came highly recommended from one of my business coaches, Jillian Murphy. And Jillian only knows like the best of the best. And so I took her recommendation to heart. And so I'm really excited to learn from Sarah today. And here's the cool thing. You guys can teach something and bring in an expert and you not be an expert in it. Like it's really, really cool. So I think it'll be interesting hearing Sarah's take on how to use YouTube for your business today. And then in 2 weeks, when we meet again, we're going to do the podcasting side, which is more my style. So it'll be fun to see both ways. You could do both. You could do one or the other. And so I'm excited to see what she says today. But all right, Sarah, go ahead, introduce us to you, and then we'll dive in.
All right. Well, thank you, Brooke, so much for that warm introduction. And yes, I love Jillian Murphy. She's a business coach of mine as well. So, and I'm really, again, grateful to be here, grateful to meet all of you. So I am going to do a little presentation here on how to dominate your market on YouTube. A little brief introduction about myself. So here's a picture of me and my family. I am coming to you from sunny California. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. And here's a picture of me and my son. And to be honest, my journey actually to becoming an expert on YouTube kind of started at a rocky place. So when I was pregnant and just had my baby on my maternity leave, I was laid off from my tech job in the Silicon Valley. And so that was a really intense experience, to say the least. But in hindsight, it was really a gift, because I had always wanted to start my own business, and getting laid off was honestly the push that I needed to go there. What really kind of directed me down the YouTube path was, in my previous corporate position, I had the gift of working with a handful of really successful entrepreneurs. And so I knew that my business, I wanted to serve entrepreneurs. And I fundamentally believe today that YouTube is the best way to do that for small business owners today in 2022. So in this brief talk, we're going to talk about really like the things that can stop us from getting on video with YouTube, why I'm so excited about YouTube, and how to start your channel. I really want you to walk away today with some tangible steps on here. Here are some things that you can really walk away with so that you can start your channel today. And then we'll talk a little bit about working with me if that is of interest to you. And then I'm going to take some questions at the end. And so also feel free to like put the questions in the chat as they come up, and then we can address them later on. Okay, awesome. So here, and I might be going a little fast because I want to make sure we get through everything. So here's just an example of like one of the clients that I have. This is kind of a why you should listen to me here. My specialty is ultra high ticket. So I work with a lot of real estate agents. I work with attorneys. Here's an example of a local real estate agent that I work with. And, this is an example in the left-hand corner here from a lead that she actually got from a YouTube channel. And so the message said, "Hi, Heather, I found you on YouTube. I'm looking to purchase my first home in the San Francisco Bay Area. I've already secured a pre-approval letter from the credit union, and I'm looking to find and close on a home quickly to move in early December. Are you available?" And so this is like the highest level quality lead. And to put this into context, this is a $25,000 to $30,000 lead, just because of the area of real estate that we're in. So I know that you are all in the photography space, but I just wanted to frame it up that the opportunity on YouTube is huge. And I will also say there's a lot of, and we're going to talk about this here too, is YouTube too saturated? let me tell you, in the San Francisco Bay Area, it's one of the most expensive places to buy and sell real estate in the world. So if we can be getting leads on YouTube in the San Francisco Bay Area in real estate, I'm very confident about your photography businesses. So just to provide some context. But let's talk a little bit about, before we get into pragmatics, I do want to talk about the things that can stop us from getting on video, right? And specifically YouTube. And maybe you can just drop a 1 in the chat if you can relate. So YouTube sounds like a lot of work, right? I look stupid. No one's going to watch it. I should be on it, but how do I do it? I stumble over my words. I don't like the way that I look. I don't understand it, right? I think that, let me look at the chat. Yes, 1. Yes, I know that if you are, you're literally saying this to my head. Yes, Mariana, I can definitely relate with that. Know that if you're saying this, you're entirely normal, right? And ultimately, these are the thoughts that are going to stop us from really putting ourselves out there and putting the work in. But what we found that in working together with my clients, they were able to reframe these thoughts, show up on video with confidence, and ultimately grow their business. So let's transition and start talking about why I'm so excited about YouTube today. So some of these points are going to be obvious, but I think we still just need to kind of talk through it. So viewers, the viewing trend online is changing. So people may be watching less television, but they don't love video any less, right? And so that's super clear in that most people don't have cable anymore. Like, I don't know, drop a 1 if you canceled your cable. I have not paid for a cable bill in years, right? Because it's all about Netflix, it's all about Hulu, it's all about these kind of instant download, like YouTube, right? By 2022, half of the viewers under the age of 32 will not be subscribed to a paid TV service, actually. 6 out of 10 prefer online video platforms to live TV, right? So this is just really important to think about the context in which, in the times that we live. Okay, let's talk about the advantage briefly. So everyone probably knows this on this call, that Google is the #1 search engine in the world, right? And so Google owns YouTube. And why is that significant? So I'm not sure if you've had this experience, but sometimes when you type a search question or something into Google, you'll see that there's a YouTube video that pops up, right? And so what's really significant about this synergy between YouTube and Google is that because the algorithms are talking to each other, when you type something into Google, Google knows, oh, okay, that a person also typed that similar phrase into YouTube. They watch these videos for a while, which means they probably got their question answered. So if they got their question answered on YouTube, they'll probably get it answered on Google here, right? And so that is something that is really, really powerful when you start to think about ranking on page 1 of Google, which sounds like this is like the top of the mountain. How can we do this? But I'm telling you, I've done it with my local real estate client here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Like, we've been able to do page 1 rankings. So it's possible. And this is, again, why really investing in optimized SEO content, video content, can prove results for years to come. It's not just about a story that disappears within 24 hours. So a few more things I'm going to talk about. So YouTube has currently today, YouTube has 2 times the amount of users that Instagram has. So YouTube has about 2 billion, Instagram has 1 billion. And so this is an important distinction because as entrepreneurs, it's funny, Brooke, I just listened to your episode about shiny object syndrome. So I'm gonna tie that in here today. We think we need to do all the things, right? And so we need to do Instagram, we need to do all the, we need to get on TikTok, but I'm here to just tell you, YouTube is a massive platform. It's one of the biggest. So also, this is the obvious, but 65% of us are visual learners. So what that means is if I have a choice to watch a video or if I have a choice to read an article, I'm going to watch a video every single time. So again, that is something that is changing in the trends. Also, bottom line, YouTube is where people go to get their questions answered. So I'm going to ask you here, like, this is a rhetorical question, but when was the last time you went on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok to search for something in particular? Like how to start a photography business. You're not going on those platforms, right? To figure that question out. In fact, it's more about entertainment. You're scrolling through to be entertained and you're hoping that your ideal customer sees your post. However, on YouTube, you can actually control where the algorithm places your content and position it to be found by the right viewers. YouTube is about building up these lasting connections. And so you establish yourself as the authority as you're building up your know, like, and trust factor, and they will be loyal to you. So let's move on and talk a little bit about also just diversifying in our platforms, right? Like I know that there was a few months back, everybody was freaking out when Facebook and Instagram had their shutdown, right? And it was really, I think it was an eye-opening moment for people to go, wow, like I really need to think about additional platforms, right? And I'm definitely an advocate for diversifying our platforms. And when you're looking at the platforms that you're on, the sheer ROI of YouTube is incredibly strong because most of the content on other platforms is going to disappear within a week, right? And so since YouTube is a search engine, and this is an important distinction, YouTube is not a social media platform. YouTube is a search engine. Your videos, and so it's run on SEO, your videos will continue to work for you for years to come. So here's my client again, where we filmed a video about neighborhoods in a suburb here. And on YouTube, the views at this point were about 5,000. The same video we posted on LinkedIn got 160 and Instagram was 60 views. And so this just really shows you that the views build over time. And that's where too, when you're searching in YouTube and some of the top videos, you'll see that they've been around for like 4 or 5 years, but they're still ranking as a #1 video. And so that's why, I'm not going to lie to you, creating good video content, as well as, I'm sure Brooke can tell you, a good podcast takes a lot of time and energy. But I'm just here to tell you that it can grow with time. So in addition to that, so that's just one video, but here's just a little snapshot of her entire channel. So from an annual perspective on this channel for free, she got 55,000 views. A view on YouTube is also stronger than a view on Instagram because a view on Instagram, I believe, is 3 seconds. On YouTube, it's 30 seconds. So it's going to be a longer watch. And this is the most powerful part. Almost 3,000 hours of watch time. This is just 3,000 hours of people consuming her brand. And also, let me just tell you, last thing, she does not have thousands of subscribers. She has, like, to this day, she's about 750 subscribers on her channel. And I think that that's another fallacy that's out there, is you have to have 300,000 subscribers in order to monetize and in order to, really get the clients that you need. It's simply not true. It's simply not true. So let's move on and talk a little bit about, do I think YouTube is too saturated? And so I'm going to say, I do not believe YouTube is too saturated. And here's why. Like attracts like, right? And so your people are going to find you, because ultimately we want connection with people that are just like us. And if you think about it, YouTube's algorithm wants new content, right? And so there's somebody out there that you're that you're needing to serve, and YouTube wants you to come to the platform with new content. So there are people that don't succeed on YouTube. And this is something that I just need to be incredibly honest about, because YouTube is an amazing platform. And yet, if you lack consistency, this is not going to be the platform for you. Right. And I think Brooke will probably attest to this too with podcasting. I know that she's been very consistent with her podcast, which has taken work. YouTube is not a post and go strategy. It simply is not. It's not one of these strategies where you can throw up a reel and get thousands of views and feel really good about the views that you get. Like, it's just not that type of a platform. It's a snowball effect. Like, you're really building that snowball. I tell my clients, you need to do this for a year. And that is like the honest truth. I'm curious, what Brooke has to say about podcasting. But I really like to be honest with my clients, because you have to set the proper expectations that, yeah, this is going to be an annual, about a year journey where you're really just focused on building out your brand. I tell people, you cannot confidently say YouTube does not work for me unless you've really tried it for a year. And that's where, like, you're posting Brooke, do you have the same, do you have a similar thought with,
Yeah. So I was just gonna chime in. So I typically use 1 year when I coach to really anything. When you pivot to a new niche, how do you know it really doesn't work unless you are
Right.
committed to it for, months at a time? A podcast is really the same way. Like, almost everything that you say about YouTube, as far as consistency and things like
Yeah.
that, absolutely applies to podcasting too. And that's why most people fail or don't think that they're not on a momentum of growth, is because they give up too easily. There's no consistency. They're selling rather than serving and all those things. So yeah, you brought up so many good points. I'm going to continue taking notes as you talk.
Okay. Well, Brooke, I'm glad that we're aligned. Because I think that this is the tried and true stuff in business. This is the grit that we all need as entrepreneurs to make it. But the last thing I'm going to do is, or the last thing I'm going to touch on here is focusing on sales over service. So I think, the people that get up there on YouTube that are so focused on their title, all their accomplishments, and not focused on giving value to the customer will also fail on YouTube. They're just going to see poor watch times. So so these are the people that don't succeed on YouTube. Obviously, there's a ton of other people that are succeeding. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly, but let's just talk about niching down. I think this is something that you're probably working with Brooke right now, but the the one thing I will leave you with is the riches are in the niches. So you have to be really specific about who are you talking to, right? And here are just a few questions that you can kind of ask yourself, like, who have you enjoyed working with most in the past? What are you uniquely qualified to talk about in your videos? Also, who are you not for? I think we've all had clients that have taken up so much energy that you would have gladly given them their money back, right? So those are people that you're not for, and that's okay too, right? Who's your biggest competition? Are they on YouTube? What are the 5 topics of this niche that you can make videos about? What are your ideal clients? So here, these questions are going to be in the workbook that I uploaded. So these are just some things to get your wheels turning about how to, really kind of identify your niche. So let's move on to keyword research. And I think this is a huge, that is an understatement. Yeah, I agree. So let's talk about keyword research. This is a real distinguishing factor between the other social media platforms out there and platforms like YouTube that are driven on SEO, right? So this is going to be a little bit more technical, but there's a tool that's amazing. It's called Keywords Everywhere. And it's just $10 for like an entire year's worth of credit. So it's, basically free. And so what this tool allows you to do is you're able to plug in search terms and understand what is the monthly search volume. These are things you need to focus on. what is the monthly search volume? And what is the competition rate here? And so what you're wanting to look for is for search volume within 50 to 1,000. And why is that? As a new channel, you are not going to be able to rank for things that have a 50,000 search. And so this is where you really dialing in your niche is incredibly important, right? How to start a photography business is fairly broad, right? But there's a lot of niches within that. Or how to start a course in photography like that. That's going to be like that's a really broad one, but there are ways to kind of tailor it down to start to think about, okay, are we specifically talking about babies? Are we specifically talking about models? Are we like, what type of photography are we talking about? So you want to look at the search volume, and then you also want the competition to be in the low range. So here, average house price in San Francisco, that competition is 0.08. That is going to be that's a really low competition rate. Anything between the 0.0 to 0.33 is in the low competition. Anything 0.33 to, like, I don't know, I struggle with math, 0.66, that's in the medium, and then beyond is high. So this is like what we're trying to do here is fill the holes. Like, we're trying to see what are the areas that are getting, what are the keywords that are getting some search volume, not a ton, that have low competition, because that's where you're going to be able to come in and really win. So this is really how you start to build out what you talk about, right? It's the video content that you create is not necessarily, it's a part of what you think your ideal customer wants to hear, but this is a gut check to see and really substantiate, are people typing in this? Do people actually have this question? Because we can think, oh, my ideal customer wants it. And if nobody's typing it, then they probably don't, right? And so this is just the process of making sure that the video content is there. So let's move on to talk about shooting videos that make your phone ring. I'm going to just briefly talk about equipment, because this is something that really can throw people. Let me tell you, all of you probably have everything you need. And you're photographers, so you probably really have everything you need. But you really just need a few different things. So lighting can be free. I'm sure you all have lights and everything. The only thing that I would recommend buying is a external microphone, a lavalier mic. I've got some links in the workbook, but there's plenty of great $20-ish options on Amazon. A stabilizer, which can also be a stack of books, or it can just be your webcam is possible. And like I said, on number 4, your camera can also be your phone, but I know that you all have probably great cameras, but I just say that all to say equipment can be incredibly, incredibly simple. The last thing I'm going to talk about today is, and I think that this is going to drive value for you all, about how to script your videos, because this is something that I see so many people doing wrong on YouTube. And this is where we have to shift our focus from sales to service, right? So the first thing, once you get some video titles from that keyword research that you're going to do, and by the way, let me back up. Keywords, your keyword research, a keyword is a little bit of a misnomer, because it can sound like it's just one word, but a keyword is actually a phrase. How to start a photography business, that's an entire keyword, right? Which could also be a title. So that's basically the distinction there. And so what you want to do is get, I'd say, 4 titles just to start out with. I recommend people batch film just to make it easier. And then really, in order to script your videos, like, the main thing that you want to do is really like hook people in when you start. So the biggest thing that I see people do is they start a video and they introduce themselves, which seems obvious, but if you think about it, they don't really care what your name is. at this point in the relationship, right? And so what you want to do with your hook is really address the questions that your potential client has to offer, right? So you want to get into the coaching space, or you're wanting to, like, you just want to make sure that you grab them so they don't keep scrolling and clicking out to another video. And then at that point, once you've hooked people, you can introduce people to your channel, right? And you can just ask them to subscribe, like, hey, this is what this channel is about. If that information is useful to you, please consider subscribing. Do not ask people to like, comment, subscribe all at the same time. Again, too many things. Call to actions need to be extremely simple. And then you get into the meat of the video where you're just focused on adding value. And in order to get your meat, you can use your own experience. You can watch other top performing videos and add kind of your unique spin, tell stories, and working with clients. You can refer to blog articles. And then lastly, you just want to do an ending call to action where you can focus on one thing. You can direct them to another YouTube video to watch. You can also have them download like a little freebie lead magnet as a way to download, as a way to capture leads. So and then the last thing too that I'm going to say is that you really want to create with all of these videos like a binge worthy playlist, right? And so you want to think about, as you're crafting these, as you're doing your keyword research, as you're looking into it, you just want to ask yourself, like, what is the natural next question that my customer is going to have? Okay. So, and then the ending of these videos can be, so now you know more about, whatever this video is. You might be wondering, what about this? In this video right here, this is what we're going to go through. And so it really just creates this long form content, right? Where people are just consuming a ton of your content. Little fun fact about YouTube, the average YouTube user spends 41 minutes a day on YouTube. So it's a platform in which people are ready to consume information. And then I really would love to get to questions. Let me just, before we talk about working with me, the last thing I'm going to say is video editing. I recommend you leverage this out immediately. And so this is something that some people are in the financial situation to do it, others are not. The thing about video editing, I don't know as much about podcasting editing, is that it just takes a lot of time. Like around a 10-minute YouTube video can take an experienced video editor 6 to 8 hours to edit. And that's, adding in B-roll and because you really need to add these visual compelling components to make the video interesting. And so because of where people's attention are at. So this is something I run a YouTube agency, and I do not know how to video edit. Like, that's something that I've leveraged out from day one. It's a highly leverageable skill. You can find decent video editors for $5 to $7 an hour on Fiverr and Upwork. The editor can also help you upload the videos. And so ultimately all of this leverage is just going to help you stay consistent in the journey, right, of building out your YouTube channel. So I really would love to get to some questions if we have any. So basically, 2 ways of working with me. It's very simple. I have a done for you YouTube channel creation service. The investment is $3,000 a month. So these are for 4 videos. I script, I shoot, edit, optimize, upload all the content. And then we also can upload the videos to Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Another service that I provide is just one-on-one consultation. So similar to this format, we would do 4 one-hour sessions, and I'm going to provide you all the necessary information you need to set up a thriving YouTube channel. So we're going to go over topics like, we're going to take a deeper dive into keyword research, how to pick your niche, how to really script your videos, how to properly optimize your videos. That was something that we didn't really get to dive deeper in today. The keyword research is a really big part of that. But yeah, that's kind of more of a done with you option. But these are my, two ways to work with me. But I would love to, from here, I would love to see if anybody has any questions. I know I was just talking at you for a long time.
Yes, so I'm pretty sure everyone has questions. We'll start with Brittany because she said she has questions first, and we'll just kind of let everybody take their turn and ask their questions to you.
Awesome.
All right,
Yeah.
Brittany, your turn.
Of course I have questions. Okay. So you said something about SEO you can SEO optimize content. What, like, is that SEO optimized for YouTube or for Google or both, because they work together?
Yeah, it would be both.
Okay. And
So
does that help?
the ideal, so the winning combination for this is if you have a website.
Okay.
What you can do is you can embed a YouTube video on a vlog kind of portion of your website and then write an article, like a blog article underneath it. And that is really like the winning formula to help you with both Google rankings as well as YouTube. Because it's
Okay.
like, it's super rich, right? Because you've got like the video, you've got all the keywords and the blog. That's the winning formula.
Okay. Can I ask more questions, or do you want to go to
Yeah,
something else
absolutely.
first? Okay. You said you can control the YouTube algorithm. Is that just by using the, what was it called? Keywords everywhere and just typing in the right words, or is there something more to that you control the algorithm?
Yeah, I mean, so controlling the algorithm, you can control like the traffic that goes to your videos. The main thing is, yeah, working through your keywords to make sure that people are typing in what you're making your video about.
And those keywords are in like the description, is right, or the title?
The keywords are in the description and they're in the title. Yes.
Okay.
So I would say the main thing is going to be your keyword, like your title. But yes, the description and having the rest of the video optimized are important. The description is a part of that. There's also something in YouTube called tags that is not super important, but it basically is another way of covering other keywords that are adjacent to the video to see, to help find the video as well. So yeah, there's like, it's kind of hard to place percentages on 50% is keywords and this is that, but it all kind of works together as metadata to help with the algorithm.
Okay. And my last question would be, so like on Instagram, like we really kind of try to show our personality and just like connect with our ideal clients and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is YouTube, can you do it the same way? Like, or I don't know, does it need to be a little bit more polished? Does that question make sense?
Let me see if my answer makes sense.
Okay.
I would say yes, YouTube is more polished.
Okay.
YouTube is more, I mean, and that's not to say, and when I say polished, I don't mean fake, but it needs to be like, typically videos that are going to do well on YouTube are edited and they've got some B-roll and some different visual components. The content can still be authentic about yourself, but it's not just like I don't know, just like throw your phone up. And I don't know if that's exactly what you're saying.
No, that 100% makes sense.
Yeah. Great question.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna real quick. I am gonna come back to you two, I promise, just a second. But I do have a follow-up question to kind of what you just said, because I was gonna ask something similar, whereas like my podcast is I would say my podcast is polished at the same time being authentic with like what I'm talking about. But I'm more of a polished person anyway, and I don't mean like dressed to the nines. I mean, I'm in sweatpants right now. But as far as like the way that I speak, it's like I'm usually always pretty polished and eloquent. So one of my questions was, do you need the fancy intros at the beginning of videos that you see other YouTubers have? Like you know what I mean? Like a TV
Oh.
show, or is that not necessary? Like, does there just need to be a title slide? What does that look like?
That's a really good question, Brooke. So on the new channels that I'm building out, we're actually doing away with those branding ones. And the biggest so to be clear though, you still need to hook people.
Yeah. But
this
I'm
is
talking
the
about
difference.
like, you know how like on TV
The
shows,
fanfare, yeah.
people have like their TV show
Yeah.
intro, because I just want to fast forward through that, you know?
Well, and that's why, and so like basically what will happen, like the biggest thing that I look at in terms of success on a YouTube channel is the retention rate of the video, which means how long people are going to watch for. I would say 40% is a phenomenal retention rate. And so what you'll see on a lot of those videos that have these like beautiful branding intros is the boop, the drop off is just, because to your point, like nobody wants to watch that. So I think that YouTube is long form content. So it doesn't necessarily need to be short, but you do need to be concise and just get to the point. And so I just think that branding is not, there's other ways to incorporate branding in your talk. Like you can throw up your logo, you can throw up your title. You can show B-roll of you doing things in the video without like just having that branding intro. But yeah, great question, Brooke.
Okay, good. All right. Well, we're going to circle back to the other two. And if they don't ask the questions I have, I'll come back and ask you the rest of mine. Jay Letter, do you have any questions? She's like, I don't have any.
I don't think so.
Okay.
What is B-roll? So that B-roll is a great question. So B-roll is, have you ever had the experience where, somebody's talking on the video but it cuts to something else? It cuts to a picture or a video of something else. That's what B-roll is. It's just a different visual element. So you're just not looking at the same face for 10 minutes.
Or a different angle, or like a behind the scenes of what you're talking about. Exactly. Yeah. Like B-roll it's kind of just like extra, like another perspective. There you go. That's the word I was looking for.
And that's where you can use your branding stuff. Like that's a really good way of using your branding stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Marina, do you have any questions?
I'm kind of, I get excited over things and I'm like, oh, that sounds like a really good idea. So now I'm just I need to think about this and figure out if this is going to be something that I should do or not. Yeah. But no questions so far. It all kind of made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
A lot of information that I downloaded everybody quickly.
Yeah, it is. So I will say I've always been intrigued by wanting to have a YouTube channel. I mean, I do have a YouTube channel, but I'm not consistent. I mainly did it for IrisWorks, which is a client management system. And even not being consistent, but having those up, because there's not hardly any tutorials over our photography client management platform, I pop up first because they're on YouTube, and I have gotten so many clients off of YouTube from like just the couple things that I have there. But I'm actually really intrigued. I'm trying not to get shiny object syndrome of like podcast and YouTube, but I'm moving into a new studio space, and I'm kind of thinking the first 2 years of my podcasting, I went back and I looked at all my episodes, and I started thinking to myself, I either have a different opinion or I do a different strategy now. Like I want to revisit those topics up to date. I'm kind of thinking about incorporating my podcast into a YouTube channel and having both. Like, why not? Could I do that? Like just start recording it visually and then use the audio portion for podcast?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, I think that that's absolutely possible. I'm trying to think, I don't know if it would be a complete, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like a complete mirror.
Yeah.
The audio would have to be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, totally. I think that that's possible. And I think it depends on what's on your plate right now. But I really advocate for having 2 platforms.
Well, I know so many people, and everyone's going to be like, this is me. Everyone's so tired of just relying on social media. It's crap at this point. I mean, we're all putting in all this effort, and half of us are like, why are we bothering? So I'm kind of pivoting to what I want to coach to as far as like less social media, more like let's get you some long form content. And I've wanted to do it forever. It's just funny that it took up until this group coaching program for me to be like, no, I'm really passionate about teaching people how to build things. So my question to you is, because I was talking to my team about this yesterday, my question to you is, yes, we are in the like photography educator space. We're both though. We have a local photography business and we're trying to step into education. And so what about just photography in general, just as photographers? I would love to just kind of explore the idea, like how can we create a YouTube channel for our local photography business? That, okay, good. Brittany, she said, that's my question too, Brooke, is how can we use our local service-based business? And like, what topics would you talk about? Do they have to be directly related to, I'm going to give you an example. The example I gave my team was, let's say that I am a maternity and newborn photographer, and I'm obviously talking specifically to a mom of whatever sort, right? Like whatever my ideal client is. Is my YouTube channel mainly on motherhood topics? So like 5 things you must have in your hospital bag, or you know what I mean? Like, what does that look like for those of us that are service-based and not necessarily educational based too? And I know I'm throwing that at you because that's not what I told you, but yeah.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. I mean, I think that I would, if you're going to focus on, like, let me just address that question first about the maternity piece. You want to just be hyper focused on like maternity photography, because basically what's going to happen is if you start doing videos, like if you start doing videos about, like you said, like, you know, what to put in your bag or whatever, like with hospital, your channel is going to be categorized wrong. Basically, like it'll start sending traffic and it'll start suggesting traffic about, like, you know, packing for the hospital or whatever, when the goal, but I understand that it's an adjacent topic. Like it's a question that your ideal customer has. So yeah, I mean, I think that it really just depends on, I would just focus on your niche, like who are you trying to serve? And so like you're saying, if it's going to be a local photography business, you know, maybe it is like photography in the greater whatever area. And then you can just talk about like the different services you provide, the different types of, you know, shoots, the different types of clients that you're going to work with. Yeah.
Okay. So with that being said, if like I'm pivoting to all studio photography, so would my channel basically, could I have like a playlist where it's like behind the scenes at newborn sessions and like they're seeing, you know what I mean? Like they're seeing themselves, it's more behind the scenes of what we're doing. And then the forward facing conversation, could we do posing tips, like things like we're throwing into reels? Is that kind of where we're headed with that?
Yeah. No, I think that like you could do all of those things on your YouTube channel.
Okay.
Like I think it could be a playlist of behind the scenes, and then there could be another playlist of like how to prepare for your video session, or like, you know, things not to do, things to do, how to hire a photographer.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
You know, what are things to look for? Yeah, so I would need to do some more keyword research around that, but like I think it's about all of when I think about those playlists, like all of those things would be things that your ideal client, if you're in a local setting, like they would want to know. Like they would want to know, okay, if I hire Brooke, what's my experience going to be? Okay.
Yep.
How should I prepare? What are some things I need to think about? And just asking yourself and addressing those questions can absolutely be translated into a local environment.
Okay, perfect. Okay, one last question for me, and then we'll see if anybody has anything else, is consistency and length of videos. That's my last question. What is consistency? Is that one video a week? Is consistency like blogging where it's what you make it? And then what should we aim for as far as like video length time?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Brooke. So with my clients, I tell them at least one video a week.
Okay.
And I would say one video is a phenomenal goal, given that if you're doing 0 right now, let's not make the goal 3, right? Let's make the
Right.
goal 1 week. And I would say definitely I would focus on around the 10-minute mark
Okay.
for the videos. And so I think that's where you have to do your research on looking at what other people are doing. It doesn't need to go on and on and on, and it doesn't need to be, super short. It's just like the goal is for it to just be concise. Like you want the video to just add value. So,
Okay.
but the 10-minute mark is pretty, because if you think about it, like YouTube wants people to stay on their platform as long as possible. So
Yeah.
they're going to incentivize you by sending you more traffic if you're able to do that. So typically too, if you're doing 10 minutes, then people will watch it for about 40 to 50%, then that's about 4 to 5 minutes. And then that's a way too to get your total channel watch time up, which is a really important metric as well. Like I look at that honestly more than subscribers. Subscribers are more vanity metric.
Yeah, for sure.
That can make you feel better, but doesn't necessarily indicate success of your channel.
Okay, cool. So let's just say worst case scenario, we can't find enough things to say. Would a 5 or 6 minute video suffice? If your client is seriously finding your YouTube channel at that point, or we're redirecting them to our channel to get their questions answered, they're naturally probably not going to just watch one. They're probably going to watch 2 or 3 and then hop off. So does that work too? I'm just literally asking all the questions that are running through my head. So.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
I will
Awesome.
always tell you all, done is better than perfect.
Okay, awesome. I love it. Okay,
and
guys.
Honestly, as you get more comfortable on camera, like you'll find that it's easier to talk. You can, something else too that I will leave you with is filming video testimonials if you can. Like this is something that very, very few people are doing. And it's so important to just have that social proof. The written reviews are great, but if you can have a client that'll just talk to you about your experience, and I mean, maybe it's depending on how you feel ethically in your brand, if you can give them an added bonus or something for that, like, oh my gosh, that content is going to pay you for years to come. Because very few, I mean, especially in the coaching industry, what I find is that not enough coaches are talking about the transformation of their clients, right? They're super focused on tips and, all the things, but it's like, you're going to the coach to get a transformation,
Yeah.
right? And so let's talk about the transformation. And that is what really marks an experienced coach or an experienced photographer, right? Versus a beginner, is somebody that's able to really shepherd you through that transformation. So that's another thing that I work with my clients on as well.
I love that so much. You have been what am I looking for? Whatever the word is of knowledge. So thank you. And then are there any last question? You all get one each if you have one. Otherwise, we're going to let Sarah go. This has been so incredible. And of course, I'm over here like, okay, what am I going to do with my YouTube channel? Is anyone?
I'm going to get a call from Jillian. Like, why?
Probably. Is anyone like, okay, now I'm intrigued. I'm thinking about doing a YouTube channel because I am. Brittany, any last questions that you have?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you for all the questions.
Marina,
and
Jayla.
Brooke, if you have any other questions, like feel free you guys can reach out to me. Brooke and I messaged over Facebook, so that totally works. But yeah, thank you so much for your time and your energy. Looking forward to connecting in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was so good. All right.